All right, all right, all right. Where are we at? We're on page 297 at the bottom. We're starting at the bottom. Now we're here. Now we're here. All right. Let's see. I just want you to take that first line right there, major medical expense insurance. Right under that second line, dead center, substantial protection. Third line, dead center, broad coverage. Go all the way down to the bottom. Highlight high benefit limits available on individual and group basis. Okay? So, that's, well, it's not all you're going to need, but seriously, that kind of sums this up. Basic medical expense, first dollar. It has limits, which is why there's no deductible. Major medical. All between all those words, what did we snatch? Major medical expense insurance, substantial protection, broad coverage, high benefit limits, available on individual and group basis. Now, I hate the fact they tell you high benefit limits, because on this next page, 3 lines down, benefit may be defined on a calendar year basis. Remember what I said about that little circling? Grab your pen, circle or. You see right after that, a 2-year or 5-year period? I'm having an internal conflict on whether I want you to highlight that, because what I tell you, when you see the or, for the most part, the information before the or is the most important. Information after is like that supporting information that these people, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, it's like this book was written by attorneys. Does anybody really want to talk to an attorney? No. Why? Because they speak like this. Well, it could be a 2 or a 5-year period too, but we're not going to test you on all that stuff. But anyway, you circled the or. You know, why don't you go ahead? Or a 2-year to 5-year period, blah, blah, blah. That's what we need there. And I want you to highlight at the end of that paragraph right there at the top of 298, federal law now prohibits lifetime limits. Federal law prohibits lifetime limits on those comprehensive plans, okay? Remember, we're in major medical, that self-absorbed, title-loving, all-encompassing insurance strategy. Now, let's go down to the next paragraph right there. Major medical picks up where basic medical leaves off in 2 ways: as a supplement to basic or as a comprehensive standalone plan. So let's go 17.31, supplementary major medical. I want you guys to highlight pretty much that first line right there. Supplementary major medical plan covers expenses not included at all under a basic plan. Also provides coverage for expenses in excess of the basic policy. And then next line down, benefits. And I just chopped that up. I kind of chopped that up for you, right? So you took that first line right there. Supplementary major medical plan covers expenses not included at all under a basic plan. And then right after that, also provides coverage for expenses in excess of. And then we're going next line down, dead center, the basic policy. And then right under policy, highlight benefits. That's a better sentence, okay? And that is it. Forget the second one. We'll wind up explaining that a little bit better a little later on. The next one, 17.3.2, I want you to highlight comprehensive major medical. And then that first line where it's nice and bold, highlight that. Comprehensive major medical. And then skip over plans. Cover at the end of that. See that what I just did? So it took the bold, took that word plans, and then cover virtually all medical expenses. Hospital, physician, and surgeon. Don't highlight all the rest of those, right? If you're going to highlight anything, that nursing, but drugs, therapy, and then just go to the end, and more under a single policy, right? It's comprehensive. It's not basic. It's comprehensive. Got you covered. I got you. All inclusive. Right? Second paragraph, major medical plans. Right under that, include Deductible coinsurance. Remember the other one was first dollar. Major medical includes deductible and coinsurance. And then right after that, both features require the insured to absorb some of the cost. Next line down, right dead center, allowing the insured to avoid small claims. Guess where those small claims belong? Over there with my basic millennial friend, basic medical expense. None of this comprehensive Gen X stuff over here. I'm deep, like an onion. All right, next page, $2.99. Yo, David, what's our time count here?
You're at 5 minutes, 50 seconds.
Woo! Fast. All right, so $2.99. I want you to go up top of the page. Deductibles. Highlight 1733 deductibles, and then right there, highlight that bold word deductible. Right after that, initial dollar amount. The individual, next line down, is required to pay before insurance benefits are paid. Bam. The deductible is required to pay before insurance benefits are paid. Let's go down to that next paragraph right there where it says depending on the type of major medical policy. I want you to highlight deductible. And then next line under that, last line, one of three kinds: flat, corridor, or integrated. Hold up. I know I already told you when something's flat, it means it's flat, right? So what would be a flat deductible? Is it going to go up, down, or is it going to vary in any way? No. So what I want you to do, 17331, flat deductible. Highlight that in the headline, and then look at that first line, summing it up. They put like all those words in there. You know what we need? A flat deductible is a stated amount. Done. If I say your deductible is $500, how much is your deductible? $500. It has no bearing on the expense that you incurred. All right? That is it. Now, corridor deductible. Guys, this one, you know, a lot of people get mixed up on these deductibles. Flat is one of those things that we could just kind of throw out because it's flat. It's a stated amount. It's always going to be a stated amount whenever that word comes up in insurance. But the corridor is a hallway, isn't it? So what I want you to think about is that I got done with something and I'm walking down this hallway. I'm done with you. Just like that, right? So in this corridor deductible, I want you to highlight that. And then right after that, corridor deductible is for a supplementary major medical policy that works in conjunction with a basic medical expense policy. And then right after that, I want you to highlight the word first, and then jump down to the third line and grab expenses. End of that line, paid by the basic policy. Circle that word after. After. Basic benefits are exhausted. Insured pays the full deductible. Then the major medical benefits are payable. All right. Everything after that is an example, but I want you to write something in the margin there for me. In the corridor, I walked away, right? I basically said, oh, I've exhausted all of my basic benefits. I'm out of here, right? Now, I come back. This is my comprehensive policy. What did we say? Basic medical expense did not require you to pay a deductible. Comprehensive requires you to pay a deductible. With this corridor, it doesn't even look at your basic expense. And this is I think it's a little hard to grasp here because we're jumping from something that's a la carte, right? And we're moving into the major. And what we have to understand is that if we look at page 298 right here under the supplemental, covers expenses not included under the basic plan. So what they're saying is that let's just say you had some major ailment, right? And you did have a basic policy. And you had a major policy. They're working together, right? It's complementing your basic plan. What this corridor deductible is saying is that it doesn't care about your basic plan when it's time for you to use my services under this comprehensive, ACA type policy. You're going to pay the deductible. It's 100% the insured person's responsibility to pay that deductible. Okay? I would write that in the margin. Right in my margin right here, it says insured is 100% responsible for paying the deductible. You see that? Insured is 100% responsible for paying the deductible. Now, that's important. Why? Because this book is so beat. Over here, the last one is integrated, right? If something's integrated, we meshed it together. The corridor, I'm walking down the hallway, which insinuates I left one room, and eventually at the end of the hallway, I'm going to enter another room, right? Or I'm going to exit the building, but there's transitions there. The last one, if you flip the page and go to Big Bad 300 in his 17.333 integrated deductible, let's take that top line. An integrated deductible is also used with a supplementary major medical plan, but it is integrated into the amounts covered by the basic plan. All right? Corridor deductible, I left when I go into the new policy, the new room. I am 100% responsible for paying the deductible. Integrated makes it sound like they're together, right? It's because they are. In an integrated deductible, what's happening here is that, yes, you did exhaust all of your basic medical expense, but let's just say that my basic medical gave me $10,000 in benefits, right? And my major medical requires a $10,000 deductible. An integrated deductible is saying, I acknowledge the amount of money that your basic plan spent, and that's allocated towards your deductible. So let's just say my basic plan had $5,000 in benefits. Well, in that situation, if I had a $10,000 deductible, the integrated amount, I'm only responsible for $5,000. Why? Because they saw my $5,000 that my basic plan gave me. Corridor deductible, I don't care. It is my policy, does not care about your basic policy. You are responsible. Integrated, they go together. So I hope we get this. And just for a recap, we have basic, that has limits. We have comprehensive with no limits. You can have a person that has a basic policy that they supplement with a supplementary major medical policy that picks up after your basic policy with limits drops off. If you structured your healthcare that way, you either have a flat deductible with your comprehensive coverage, you have a corridor style deductible that it's still your responsibility to go ahead and pay it, whatever it is. It doesn't even look at your basic medical expense insurance. It doesn't care what they provided you. You're 100% responsible. Or you got a kumbaya insurer that's like, oh, I love your basic medical expense policy. We'll integrate it. We'll put it together. Whatever your basic expense covered, that covers your deductible requirements. So, in a nutshell, guys, that's a big chunk of this chapter right here. All right, so when we get back, we're going to talk about coinsurance on page 301. And we're going to talk about a couple of different plans, like a high deduct. Yeah, you know what? We got enough. There's barely anything on these pages. I'm trying, if you haven't noticed, some of these sections are only 8 minutes. Some of them are 20 minutes. I'm trying to keep all segments under 20 minutes. Why? Because I told you, man, half of you guys have been diagnosed as narcoleptic, trying to keep you awake. So on 301, my millennial over here is like shaking his head because he's a tech guy, right? And I'm over here trying to work on class, and this is David over there in the corner. Like, And then when his head drops, he tries to act like he's still in school, like, yep. That's y'all right now. That's you guys. If this wasn't recorded, just so you know, I'd have you guys on your Zoom making sure you ain't fall asleep, like pulling a David with the hoodie on in the middle of summertime in Florida, trying to act like I'm awake. Anyway, so at the top of 301, we want to highlight co-insurance. What is this co-insurance? I thought you said I had to have supplement, blah, 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 blah. Man, we're still just identifying the dots. I might be doing a little bit of explanations because sometimes I just have to. But co-insurance, let's highlight this first line. Co-insurance or percentage participation. Right under that, highlight is a sharing of expenses. Third line down, after deductible, the insurance company pays a high percentage and the insured pays the remainder. All right, so typically that high percentage, think about the 80-20 rule, right? Same thing here, just for argument's sake. What's the co-insurance? Well, that would be, once you paid the deductible, since this is an all-encompassing policy that just covers everything under the sun, from nursing and x-rays and physician and hospitalization and blah, 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 everything under the sun. You're not done when you just pay your deductible. You always have to pay your co-insurance, which is a percentage, okay? So here, what they're talking about, what's there? Total expense $12,000. He paid a $2,000 deductible, right? So the bill is $10,000. The insurer pays 80%. So how much more is, Farmer Bob over here in this example having to pay? Another $2,000. So on a $12,000 deal with a $2,000 deductible, and 20% was that $2,000. The stuff that we jumped over, guys, is just the examples. Typically, that's what I am jumping over. But we're also going to jump over 17.35. Don't need it. Pre-existing conditions. It shows up in a bunch of different sections. I actually don't have it highlighted in this section, but we are going to do it anywho. All right. Yeah, let's just talk about this real quick, all right? I don't see anything that pre-existing condition is nothing I really need you to highlight there. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? It's a condition that I already had before going into the policy. So, all this stuff that they're talking about, oh, before Obamacare and blah, 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 no one cares. Now, I do want to point out something here. On the third line, no, second line, end of the second line. I actually want you to highlight this, but for a different reason. The exclusion for pre-existing conditions was designed to protect insurer against adverse selection. By those who knew they already had a medical ailment. Okay? Adverse selection, that is a vocab word, guys. They wanted to throw it in here like you're supposed to know what that means in the middle of the frickin' section. But what it means is people who knew they had a medical condition are more prone to go seek out insurance. Why? Because they know they have an issue. They know they're coming up on expense. So that person is usually, if they go looking for insurance coverage after they know, adverse selection, right? So the way that they fight against that is usually with elimination periods, but that's in a different section, okay? Elimination period is a period of time where I go into, think about COVID, right? Let's just say I go into this policy right today because I tested positive, stuff to swab up my nose, and I got COVID, and I'm all, hypochondriac. I still think the sky is falling because I got COVID. So I run and I go get my policy. The elimination period for stuff like that is usually about 14 days, which means that wouldn't my symptoms already have manifested within that 14-day period? That's what that's for, okay? So I would already be, if I was getting better, I'd know it. If I was getting worse, I would know it. But elimination periods are just to exclude pre-existing conditions. So that's all we needed there. Kind of didn't even need that. They make us cover adverse selection in another section, but it's actually a decent definition there. So let's go down 1737, as if this wasn't self-explanatory. Take that headline, high deductible health plans, HDHP. And then first line right there, a high deductible health plan. At the end of that line, offers, next line down, low premiums, but requires a relatively high deductible. Wow, you couldn't have figured that one out. That's all we need there. Next page, 303, wicked, wicked, wicked. Health savings account, HSA, highlight that up top. Go 3 lines down, right after those big block letters in the bracket says HSA. An HSA is a tax-favored vehicle for accumulating funds to cover medical expenses. Health savings account. Couldn't be any more self-explanatory, all right? Go ahead and jump over the second line because this test doesn't ask you at all about your contributions. And over there in that third line, I want you to highlight earnings in an HSA grow tax-free. Beneficiaries can make tax-free withdrawals to cover, and then skip a little bit, qualified healthcare costs. Skip 2 lines down on that third line towards the end right there. They also include retiree health insurance premiums. 1, 2, 3 lines down. Non-qualified withdrawals are subject to income tax and a 10% penalty tax. Now, I just want to point out, if they ever ask you on an under 65, or for those of you who are taking other parts, you know, you're 215, you're going to be learning life and all that other stuff, 10% is always going to be that penalty there. When they ask you about, you know, breaking your annuity before something or anything that's not a qualified withdrawal is usually going to be a 10%. So just remember that, 10%. It's never going to be higher. It'd be unrealistic for it to be higher. But anyway, third paragraph, no, we already hit that. Oh, we already finished that. Look at that. All right, so let's fast forward and then jump down to 17372, flexible spending accounts, FSA. And then I want you to highlight there right in the front. The flexible spending account is a cafeteria plan funded with pre-tax employee contributions called salary reductions. Highlight that. All right. Right under reductions, I want you to highlight funds are set aside to pay certain medical expenses. Let's grab the very last line right here. FSAs are usually found in medium to large size employers. Okay? Flip the page. David, give me the time. What's my time? Cut.